Hello Force, and welcome to week 4, the second video. This one is going to be a bit long and a bit fiddly, so hopefully you didn't spend too long in the previous video. So I'm going to open up a photo. I've named it Mr. Gill Blinds himself, and the reason for that is because I was looking into the sun as I was taking it, and so my eyes are squinting. In fact, you can't even see my eyes. I was squinting so badly, but you know, it was that or go blind, and I'm not going blind for, just to look better in a photograph for you guys. Sorry. Okay, so what I want to do with this photograph is I want to this lesson is I want to show you how you can swap colors of things around, how you can change the colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my jersey from yellow, and I'm going to turn it into a sort of like red, just like this plant whose name I forget. And then I think I'm going to make the plant yellow, and I might even change my shirt, my t-shirt to green. So, and I'm going to show you two different methods of selection here. And they are quite fiddly and they are quite long, so it will take you a little while to get this going. Because this is so fiddly, a couple of shortcuts that you can use. If you hold down Control and then you scroll in with your mouse wheel, that helps you zoom in and out. And we're definitely going to want to do that as we go around. And then if you hold spacebar and move your mouse, I'm not even clicking, hold spacebar and move your mouse, you can move the photo, your photograph around. And I'll show you a couple of other shortcuts as we go along. So basically what I need to do is I need to select this jersey. And quite often what you're doing is when you're selecting, so let's just choose over here. I'm clicking on this little, right clicking on the arrow there. So free select. If I do something like this, it's quite easy to mess up and accidentally lose the selection or do something else. Then it's a bit of a pain. You can't go back to edit it. Although what you can always do, if you take a look at something like this, if I'd just messed up over here, I've chosen my select tool, and on the left hand side we've got a couple of modes. This is replace, which I definitely don't want to do. This is add to the current selection. You can shortcut that by holding shift, and control is subtract. So I could just subtract that. Actually, subtract from a selection. I think my computer's complaining a bit. It is doing quite a bit in the background. So let's just undo free select. And another shortcut, if you want to get rid of a selection, we're going to want to do that a few times. If you hold on Control, Shift, and A, that gets rid of the selection. You can also go to select and choose none. Also, if you ever want to select everything, Control A, or you can just go to select and choose all. Okay, but anyway, so one of the ways to get around selections being a bit fiddly is to use the paths tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom right in, and I'm going to start over here. So I'm going to click, and then I'm just going to move along, and click. I'm actually going to zoom out a bit. I'm going to do this quite quickly, and then we'll go along and adjust. And I'm not going to spend ages fiddling with it because I don't want you to spend hours watching me do this and then have to go and spend hours selecting your own. So I'm not going to do a perfect selection. But when you do yours for hand-in, I'd try and get the selection as good as possible. So we'll do that. Go there, click over there, and then finally, for the last one that you're selecting, you want to hold down Control, and if you look at the bottom, it tells you what's happening with the thing. So I can click or click drag to create a new anchor. It also says try Shift. You'll see if you have a look over here, if I hold down Control, it switches to edit mode. Alt switches to move mode. But anyway, I want to click on Control when I click on the last point, and you'll see at the bottom it says click to connect this anchor with a selected endpoint, and that completes a path for me. And now what I can do is I can move around and I can select different points. And the reason I might want to do that, there's two things. First off, I might want to move the point. And secondly, if I hold Control so I'm holding Control down my keyboard, you'll see at the bottom now it says click drag to move the handle around. You can create sort of like curves in the selection. And I mean, we don't really need to do it too much over here. I'm holding down space to move the photo. And I think, so I'm going to, without not clicking anything, I'm going to just click on this and move it. It moves automatically. I don't need to hold the key down. So that's what I meant. Let's move that more to the corner. And then, you might want to decide, okay, I want another point over here. And you can just hold down Control and click on the path. That gives me a point there. There's some anchors I can move. Those the little boxes are always the anchors, and those help you curve things. Hold down spacebar to move around. And I think I want another point there. Let's drag that down a bit. Adjust that. Adjust that. I think that's following the shirt quite nicely. We go there. Go over there. You can see over here, it depends how fiddly you want to get with. Let's add an anchor there. There we go. So you can see I'm following the curve of the jersey quite nicely there. Let's put a point here. Oh, I actually want to move the point rather than the anchors there. That's quite nice. This needs, whoops. I want to move the point. There we go. Let's move that onto the boundary. Drag out the anchors a little bit. Definitely want to move that there. Once again, drag these anchors out a bit. Move that over there. Move that over there. Okay, and hopefully you can see the basics of how I'm going to do this. And I'm not going to spend ages moving all of these. I would go through, I think I'll just do this very quickly. Oops. You could push Control-Z to undo if you accidentally add a point you don't want to. As I said, I'm going to finish this quickly because I don't want to spend half an hour making you watch me select a path, optimally when by now, presumably everyone's got the point. So I am, in fact, just going to leave it right here. I certainly want your hand-ins to be a little bit done a little bit better. Anyway, now that we've done that, I'm going to choose Selection from Path. And then let's say I accidentally do something else and you think, oh my word, I've just lost all my work, and you start panicking. If you take a look over here, the nice thing about paths, up here we've got a couple of tabs. This is the Paths tab. And if you can't find the Paths tab, it's under Windows and dockable dialogues, and you'll find it under Paths. And what I can do is I can just select the path there. So select the path. And I can right-click and choose Path to Selection. And there we go. I've selected again. And I can hide the path. So that's the one very nice thing about the Paths tool is if you want to go back to a previous selection, you can do that. So that could be a big saver. And now what I want to do, I want to add a new layer. And I'm going to call this Recolor Jersey. And I want to make sure it's filled with transparency. Okay, so actually it doesn't matter what it's filled with. So I've recolored my jersey, and now what I want to do, I want to add a new layer mask. And this time, yours is probably set to white. I want to initialize it to the selection. And if you look at the layer mask, you can see that it's now colored in white, the jersey. So the white's going to be visible when we do things, and the black won't be, which is everything else. And now all I can do is I want to get rid of this selection, Control-Shift-A. So I've got rid of the selection, and make sure I click on the actual second layer itself instead of the layer mask. And I'm just going to drag that out a bit just so you can see the titles of it. Okay, and now I'm going to flood fill. So I'm going to choose the bucket tool. You could also push Shift B. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to pick a color. If I try and pick a color here, you'll see it's picking black, which you might be like, why, it's red over there. That's supposed to be still on this image here, which has nothing. So I'm going to click on the original over there, and let's pick, there we go, we've got a nice little red. And now I'm going to choose my bucket tool and fill it. And you can see that looks terrible. And what we do over here is we just choose the mode. And I'm going to change the mode. You've got a couple of options. You can choose HSV View, okay, Hue. And that maintains the hue of of what we've just put in our first layer, the red, and matches the saturation and value to the layer below. And that's what's giving us, all the darkness and the contrast. You can also choose HSL color, LCH hue, which I think is too bright for this one, or LCH color, which I dislike. And you can just play around with those. I think I'm going to stick with the HSV hue one. And then what you can do, if your selection wasn't perfect, so like if you zoom in, which you can do by holding control, you can see over here that we actually missed a little bit of yellow. If you choose the layer mask, and let's reset to black and white, and you paint in white, let's choose a paintbrush, and you maybe choose a softer brush. Maybe I'll get a 75% softness, and that'll just help it blend a bit. And you then paint. Oh, I was wondering why I couldn't see. It's because I've got a massive sized brush, so let's definitely make that a bit smaller. Okay, smaller still. You can actually use the square brackets on your keyboard to make it get bigger and smaller once you're not clicked on anything. So I don't know what I've done. I'm going to reset that brush. There we go. Let's just make it smaller by clicking on the brackets, and there we go. And you can see over here, you can, if you paint in black on the layer mask, lets the red come through. And that's one way you can do it. And if you've gone red where you shouldn't, then you can just switch to black and paint over there. Okay, so that's the one method of selection, and that's to turn my jersey into a nice yellow. Well, I now want to change this color over here, and this would be a real pain to do with the mask. You know, it's just so. Let's zoom out a bit. It's just so fiddly. So what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to, on my selection, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose Foreground Select. And then I'm going to draw a very, 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 very rough. We're going to, fine tune this so it doesn't matter if it's rough. And I'm just clicking. I'm not doing anything special. I'm not holding down anything on the keyboard. Click, 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 click. And over there, I just have to click. I don't need to control click like I did for the paths. Push enter. And that shows me a preview of my foreground select. And now what I want to do is, I've got two modes, draw in the foreground, draw in the background. And I can say, right, I want to draw in the foreground. And that'll be what we select. So in fact, I don't want that. So I want to draw in the background. And scroll down. The keyboard's not working because I'm clicked over there. So let's just click over here. There we go, that's background. And now if I hold space, I can move. This is definitely background. So this will allow you to sort of fine tune quite nicely there. And the algorithm does sort of fine tune it even more. So it's not like you have to go perfect here. Put that in the background. There we go. And you can just go like that. Once again, you can see I went too far over there. So I can go choose, I want to draw in the foreground. I can say I want to select that. Okay, and you might want to actually outline everything in foreground. So this takes a while. As I said, it's very fiddly. So if you're choosing something that's fiddly like this, you can expect to take quite a while. You can preview the mask if you want. And then, once you're done, you can just choose select. And, I'd only drawn a little bit of foreground there, so I've selected the wrong things. So let's just go right back to the beginning. And I'm going to do this very roughly, but you can do it yourself. Far less fiddly, although, what I'd probably do on your behalf is, in fact, choose to change the color of something that isn't fiddly. But, you might want to know how to do something like this. Click over there, enter, there we go, and I'm going to draw in the foreground, and I am going to do this fast. Oh, if you accidentally do that, if you click over here and then drag it, you can redock it. So a foreground, I am not going to. Let's make the brush a bit bigger. There we go. Brush a bit smaller. So as I said, I'm just doing this roughly. If you were doing this, you'd probably want to go a little bit. A little bit, what to call it, faster. Less fast, take more time on it. I'll probably make that a bit bigger. There we go. Maybe just to draw a background, get rid of some of those bits, and whatever. I'll just pretend I've done this perfectly. Choose select, and there we go. And we're going to do a very similar thing. I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to call this recolor flower. And once again, transparent, and I'm going to add a layer mask, and from selection, and then I'm going to go over here, deselect everything, and I'm going to flood fill this. And what I'm going to do is I want to use my jersey's color, so I'm going to hide the red, pick a nice yellow from there. You can re-look at the red again. Oops, I was on the wrong thing. So pick a nice yellow. I've selected a yellow over there. You can look at the red again. And then click over here, bucket fill, and there we go. And once again, that looks terrible, so let's change it to HSV view. And then once again, I could edit the layer mask. And what I could do, and then from here, I could do other things like what I did previously when I was sort of doing the trial run for this. I changed this to the green of the plant, but this video is already quite long. So you can see this might take a while, but so what I'd like you to do now is go take a photo of something that's nice and brightly colored, and I want you to upload the original photo and then the recolored photo. I hope you have fun doing this.